In 1832, David Sassoon fled Baghdad with his family as refugees, carrying little more than their lives and a network of Jewish merchant contacts across the Middle East. Within 50 years, his sons had built the largest private trading empire in Asia, controlling an estimated 80% of the opium trade between India and China, while accumulating wealth equivalent to $50 billion in today's currency. The Sassoon family didn't just participate in the opium trade, they revolutionized it, creating a vertically integrated business empire that controlled everything from poppy cultivation in Indian fields to luxury retail shops in Shanghai's international settlement. Their commercial network stretched across 20 countries, employed over 50,000 people, and generated more revenue than most national governments while establishing the family as the unofficial economic rulers of British Asia. This wasn't some small-scale smuggling operation or traditional family business. The Sassoons created the world's first truly multinational corporation decades before the term was invented, using sophisticated financial instruments, international banking relationships, and political connections that enabled them to dominate Asian trade for over a century. Their business model combined ancient Sephardic Jewish trading traditions with cutting-edge 19th century capitalism, creating an empire that survived wars, economic crashes, and political upheavals across 3 continents. Yet their fortune was built on human suffering through the opium trade that addicted millions of Chinese while generating profits that funded British imperial expansion and established modern Hong Kong and Shanghai as global financial centers. This is the story of how refugee merchants became merchant princes, transforming personal survival into dynastic power that shaped Asian history for over a century. The Middle Eastern world that the Sassoon family fled in 1832 was undergoing dramatic political and economic transformation as the Ottoman Empire's control over its distant provinces weakened, while European commercial influence expanded throughout the region. Baghdad, where the family had prospered for generations as textile traders and financial intermediaries, was experiencing increased religious persecution and political instability that made their position as prominent Jewish merchants increasingly precarious despite their wealth and social standing. David Sassoon's decision to abandon everything familiar and relocate his family to British India represented both desperation and extraordinary business vision, recognizing that the emerging patterns of international trade and European colonial expansion created unprecedented opportunities for merchants with the right connections, capital, and cultural flexibility to adapt to rapidly changing commercial environments across multiple countries and legal systems. The Sephardic Jewish community that the Sassoons belonged to possessed unique advantages for international commerce that would prove crucial for their subsequent success in Asia. Centuries of diaspora experience had created networks of trust, common languages, and shared business practices that could facilitate complex transactions across vast distances and cultural boundaries, while providing access to capital and commercial intelligence that was unavailable to most merchants operating in isolated regional markets. British colonial expansion in India during the early 19th century was creating new economic opportunities that required sophisticated commercial intermediaries capable of connecting British manufacturing with Asian markets while managing the complex logistics of intercontinental trade. The East India Company's growing dominance over Indian commerce provided framework for private merchants to operate on scales that had previously been impossible while offering protection and legal support for international business activities. The opium trade, that would become central to Sassoon wealth, was already established as a crucial component of British imperial finance, providing the revenues necessary to fund colonial administration while creating the silver flows that enabled European merchants to purchase Asian luxury goods without depleting domestic monetary reserves. This existing trade infrastructure offered opportunities for ambitious merchants who could organize more efficient distribution networks while managing the political and logistical complexities of a business that was legal in India but illegal in China. Bombay's emergence as a major commercial center during the 1830s reflected both its strategic location for maritime trade and the British colonial government's policies that encouraged international commerce while providing legal protections and infrastructure development that supported private enterprise. The city's cosmopolitan atmosphere and relatively tolerant social environment made it an ideal base for immigrant merchants seeking to establish themselves in Asian markets. The technological innovations that were transforming global commerce during this period included steamship transportation, telegraph communications, and banking instruments that enabled more rapid and reliable international transactions while reducing the risks and costs associated with long-distance trade. These technological changes created competitive advantages for merchants who could adapt quickly to new business methods while maintaining traditional relationship-based trading practices. The cultural and religious networks that connected Sephardic Jewish communities from London to Calcutta provided crucial support systems for international business development, offering trusted partnerships, reliable information, and financial backing that could enable rapid expansion into new markets while maintaining the family and community connections that provided security during uncertain times and commercial challenges. International monetary systems during the 1830s and 1840s were based on precious metal standards that required sophisticated understanding of exchange rates, arbitrage opportunities, and currency flows between different regional markets. Success in international trade demanded expertise in these complex financial relationships while maintaining access to credit and banking services that could support large-scale commercial operation across multiple currencies and legal jurisdictions. The competitive environment that the Sassoons entered in Asian trade included established British commercial houses, traditional Asian merchants, and emerging Chinese trading families who possessed different advantages in terms of market knowledge, political connections, and cultural understanding. Success would require developing unique competitive advantages while building cooperative relationships that could benefit all parties involved in complex multilateral trading arrangements. Labor and social conditions in 19th century Asia created both opportunities and challenges for international merchants, with vast populations providing potential markets and workforce, while political instability, cultural conflicts, and legal uncertainties created risks that required careful management and local expertise to navigate successfully. Understanding these social dynamics would prove essential for building sustainable business operations across diverse cultural and political environments. As David Sassoon established his family's first trading house in Bombay in 1832, he was entering a commercial environment that offered unprecedented opportunities for ambitious merchants, while demanding extraordinary adaptability, cultural sensitivity, and business acumen to navigate the complex intersection of British imperial policy, Asian traditional commerce, and emerging global capitalism that would define the next century of international trade development. Baghdad Exodus. The Sassoon family's forced departure from Baghdad in 1832 marked the end of a merchant dynasty that had flourished in Mesopotamia for over 2 centuries, while their ancestors had served as court treasurers, textile traders, and financial intermediaries within the Ottoman Empire's complex commercial networks. David Sassoon, then in his 50s, had inherited a prosperous business empire that included textile manufacturing, money-changing operations, and trading relationships that extended from Istanbul to Delhi, making him one of Baghdad's wealthiest and most influential citizens. The rising tide of religious persecution that made the family's position untenable reflected broader political instability throughout the Ottoman Empire, as central authority weakened and local governors gained increased autonomy to implement discriminatory policies against minority communities. Anti-Jewish sentiment that had long existed beneath the surface of Iraqi society erupted into systematic harassment, property confiscations, and threats of violence that made continued residence impossible regardless of the family's wealth or previous social standing. The decision-making process that led to David Sassoon's dramatic exodus involved careful analysis of alternatives across the Middle East and Asia, with the family's extensive commercial networks providing intelligence about conditions and opportunities in various potential destinations. British India emerged as the most promising option due to its legal protections for foreign merchants, growing commercial opportunities, and established Jewish communities that could provide initial support for resettlement. The logistics of relocating an entire extended family and business operation across thousands of miles represented an enormous undertaking that required months of planning and coordination while maintaining operational security to avoid attracting attention from authorities who might attempt to prevent their departure or confiscate their assets. The family had to liquidate property and business investments discreetly while arranging transportation and establishing advance contacts in their destination. Personal losses that accompanied the exodus extended beyond material possessions to include the abandonment of ancestral graves, religious sites, and cultural connections that had defined the family's identity for generations. David Sassoon's decision to preserve family traditions and religious practices in their new environment would prove crucial for maintaining cultural cohesion while adapting to dramatically different social and commercial circumstances. The financial resources that the family managed to transfer to India provided the capital foundation for their subsequent business empire, but the amounts involved were modest compared to the wealth they would eventually accumulate through Asian trade. Contemporary estimates suggest that David Sassoon arrived in India with capital equivalent to several $100,000 in today's currency, substantial for individual merchants, but tiny compared to the billions they would eventually control. Cultural preparation for life in British India required learning English, studying British commercial law and practices, and developing understanding of Indian languages and customs that would be essential for successful business operations. The family's previous experience in multilingual Ottoman environments provided some preparation for this cultural adaptation, but the specific requirements of British colonial society demanded extensive new learning and adjustment. The network of contacts that facilitated the family's transition included other Sephardic Jewish merchants who had previously made similar transitions, British colonial officials who welcomed commercially sophisticated immigrants, and Indian business partners who could provide local expertise and market knowledge. These relationships would prove crucial not only for initial establishment, but for the rapid expansion that would follow. Religious and community considerations that influenced their resettlement decisions included the need to maintain kosher dietary practices, observe Jewish holidays and traditions, and provide religious education for younger family members in environments where such infrastructure might not exist. The family's commitment to preserving their religious identity while adapting to new commercial and social environments reflected broader patterns within Sephardic diaspora communities. The timing of their departure coincided with broader changes in Middle Eastern politics and commerce that were creating new opportunities in Asia, while making traditional commercial operations in the Ottoman Empire increasingly difficult and dangerous. The family's departure represented both personal necessity and shrewd business timing that positioned them to capitalize on emerging trends in international trade. Alternative destinations that the family considered included other British territories, European commercial centers, and established Sephardic communities in the Mediterranean and Americas. Their choice of India reflected careful analysis of commercial opportunities, legal protections, and cultural compatibility that suggested the best prospects for rebuilding their merchant empire in a new environment. The emotional impact of forced exile affected different family members in various ways, with older generations mourning the loss of familiar environments, while younger family members embraced the opportunities for advancement and exploration that relocation provided. This generational difference in perspective would influence the family's subsequent business strategies and cultural evolution. Documentation and legal arrangements required for establishing themselves in British India included obtaining appropriate visas and permits, setting up legal entities for business operations, and establishing relationships with banks and commercial institutions that could support their trading activities. The British colonial administration's relatively welcoming attitude toward commercial immigrants facilitated these processes while providing legal protections that had been lacking in their previous environment. Transportation and communication challenges involved in the exodus required careful coordination across multiple stages of journey while maintaining contact with business partners and family members throughout the transition period. The journey itself took several months and involved considerable risk and expense, but successful completion provided access to commercial opportunities that would justify the costs and difficulties involved. As David Sassoon and his family established themselves in Bombay during late 1832, they faced the challenge of rebuilding their commercial empire from scratch while adapting to British colonial society and Indian commercial practices. Their success in this transition would depend on their ability to leverage existing skills and relationships while developing new capabilities suited to the opportunities and challenges of Asian trade. Bombay Foundation. David Sassoon's establishment of his first trading house in Bombay in 1833 represented more than simple business relocation. It marked the beginning of a systematic approach to Asian commerce that would revolutionize international trade while creating the foundation for one of history's greatest merchant empires. The initial offices at 9 Tamarind Street in the Fort District provided modest quarters for operations that would eventually span continents while employing tens of thousands of workers across multiple industries and countries. The commercial environment that the Sassoons entered in Bombay was experiencing rapid transformation as British colonial policies encouraged international trade, while new transportation technology and financial instruments were making large-scale Asian commerce more feasible and profitable than ever before. The city served as the western terminus for trade routes extending throughout the Indian Ocean, while providing access to both British capital markets and traditional Asian commercial networks. Market analysis that guided the family's initial business strategy identified several promising opportunities that leveraged their existing expertise in textiles and finance, while taking advantage of emerging patterns in Asian trade. Cotton cultivation in Western India offered opportunities for export to British textile mills, while Indian handicrafts and luxury goods could find markets throughout Asia and Europe through appropriate distribution networks. The personnel recruitment strategy that David Sassoon implemented drew heavily on extended family networks and Sephardic Jewish communities throughout the Middle East and Asia, creating a workforce bound by family loyalty, shared culture, and mutual economic interests. This approach provided reliable employees while establishing the trust relationships necessary for managing far-flung commercial operations in environments where communication was slow, supervision difficult. Financial systems that the family established in Bombay included relationships with British banks, Indian money changers, and Chinese financial institutions that could support complex international transactions while providing access to credit and foreign exchange services necessary for large-scale trading operations. These financial arrangements required careful management of currency fluctuations and credit risks that characterized international commerce during this period. The regulatory environment in British Bombay provided legal protections and commercial privileges that had been unavailable in Ottoman Baghdad, including enforceable contracts, protection of property rights, and access to British legal systems that could resolve commercial disputes fairly and efficiently. These legal advantages proved crucial for developing the complex business relationships necessary for international trading success. Language and cultural adaptation requirements for operating successfully in Bombay included mastering English for dealings with British authorities and merchants, learning Hindi and Gujarati for local Indian business relationships, and eventually Chinese and Malay for Asian trade operations. The family's multilingual capabilities became significant competitive advantages in environments where effective communication could determine business success or failure. Initial trading ventures that established the family's reputation in Bombay included cotton exports to British textile centers, importation of British-manufactured goods for Indian markets, and financial services for other merchants engaged in Asian trade. These early operations provided modest profits while establishing relationships and market knowledge that would support larger and more ambitious ventures. The transportation infrastructure that supported Bombay's growing importance in Asian trade included steamship connections to Chinese ports, overland routes to northern India and Central Asia, and emerging railroad construction that would eventually connect Bombay to markets throughout the Indian subcontinent. The family's early recognition of transportation's importance for trade success influenced their subsequent investments in shipping and infrastructure development. Political relationships that the Sassoons cultivated with British colonial authorities provided crucial support for their business expansion, while offering access to policy information and regulatory favors that could provide competitive advantages. Their reputation for reliability and commercial competence made them valuable allies for colonial administrators who needed sophisticated merchants to facilitate economic development and revenue generation. The community involvement that established the family's social position in Bombay included charitable contributions, religious institution support, and participation in commercial associations that enhanced their reputation while providing access to business intelligence and partnership opportunities. Their commitment to community development demonstrated social responsibility while building goodwill that supported their commercial activities. Competitive analysis of established merchants in Bombay revealed both opportunities and challenges that would influence the family's strategic development. British trading houses possessed superior political connections and capital access, while traditional Indian merchants had cultural knowledge and local relationships that were difficult for foreigners to duplicate. Success would require developing unique advantages while building cooperative relationships with established commercial interests. The inventory management and warehousing systems that the family developed in Bombay reflected innovative approaches to handling diverse products while minimizing storage costs and spoilage losses. These operational innovations provided cost advantages while enabling more responsive customer service that enhanced their reputation for reliability and quality in competitive markets. Quality control and product standardization procedures that the family implemented helped establish their brand reputation while meeting the demanding requirements of international customers needed consistent product quality and reliable delivery schedules. These operational improvements provided competitive advantages while enabling premium pricing for products that met superior quality standards. Market intelligence gathering through correspondence networks, traveling agents and commercial partnerships provided the family with information about prices, demand patterns, and competitive conditions across Asian markets. This intelligence capability enabled better timing of purchases and sales while identifying opportunities for new products and markets that competitors might overlook. By 1840, David Sassoon had successfully established his family as respected merchants within Bombay's commercial community, while laying the groundwork for expansion into the Asian trade networks that would make them wealthy beyond imagination. Their success in Bombay provided both the capital and the expertise necessary for the ambitious ventures that would transform them from successful regional merchants into masters of an international commercial empire. Opium Empire. The transformation of the Sassoon trading house into Asia's dominant opium merchant during the 1840s represented a calculated business decision that would generate enormous wealth while establishing the family at the center of one of history's most controversial international trades. David Sassoon's entry into opium commerce reflected careful analysis of profit opportunities, competitive advantages, and political conditions that made this trade extraordinarily lucrative despite its moral complexities and legal uncertainties. The opium trade's existing structure when the Sassoons entered the market involved British cultivation of poppies in Indian territories, processing in government-controlled factories, and auction sales to private merchants who arranged transportation and distribution to Chinese markets where the drug was technically illegal but widely consumed. This system required sophisticated logistics, political connections, and financial resources that favored established merchant houses with international experience. Market dominance that the Sassoons achieved in opium trading resulted from systematic innovations in every aspect of the business, from cultivation and processing to shipping and distribution networks that reduced costs while improving product quality and delivery reliability. Their vertical integration strategy eventually controlled the entire value chain from Indian poppy fields to Chinese retail distribution, eliminating intermediaries while capturing profits at every level. The cultivation relationships that the family established with Indian farmers involved providing financing, technical assistance, and guaranteed purchase agreements that encouraged expanded poppy production, while ensuring consistent supplies of high-quality raw materials. These relationships created mutual dependencies that provided stable sourcing while supporting rural Indian communities that had few alternative sources of income. Processing innovations that the Sassoons implemented in Indian opium factories included improved purification techniques, standardized packaging, and quality control systems that produced superior products commanding premium prices in Chinese markets. Their investment in manufacturing technology and process improvement provided competitive advantages while establishing brand recognition for Sassoon opium products. The transportation networks that carried opium from India to China involved complex coordination of sailing vessels, steamships, and overland routes that minimized costs while avoiding Chinese imperial authorities who were attempting to suppress the illegal trade. The family's shipping operations eventually included their own fleet of vessels specifically designed for opium transport with hidden compartments and rapid sailing capabilities. Distribution systems within China required partnerships with Chinese merchant networks, secret storage facilities, and bribery of local officials who controlled access to major markets. The Sassoons developed sophisticated intelligence networks that provided advance warning of enforcement activities while maintaining relationships with cooperative officials who could protect their operations for appropriate compensation. Financial arrangements that supported opium trading involved complex currency exchanges, credit instruments, and banking relationships that could handle the enormous cash flows generated by this lucrative business, while managing the risks associated with illegal activities and potential government intervention. The family's financial sophistication enabled them to optimize profits while minimizing exposure to seizure or legal prosecution. Political protection that enabled continued opium operations included relationships with British colonial authorities who viewed the trade as essential for imperial finances, Chinese officials who received substantial bribes for cooperation, and international diplomatic arrangements that protected British merchants from prosecution. The Opium Wars of 1839 to 1842 and 1856 to 1860 were fought largely to protect these commercial interests. The scale of operations that the Sassoons achieved by the 1850s included control over approximately 80% of opium exports from British India to Chinese markets, generating annual revenues equivalent to hundreds of millions of dollars in contemporary currency while employing thousands of workers across multiple countries. This commercial empire had become one of the largest private enterprises in the world. Quality differentiation strategies that distinguished Sassoon products from competitors included superior processing techniques, consistent quality standards, and reliable delivery schedules that made their opium preferred by Chinese distributors despite higher prices. Brand recognition became significant competitive advantages in markets where product quality could vary dramatically among different suppliers. Risk management practices that protected the family's opium investments included geographic diversification of operations, political relationship maintenance, and financial hedging strategies that could minimize losses from enforcement actions or market disruptions. These risk mitigation efforts proved essential for maintaining profitability in a business characterized by legal uncertainties and political volatility. The social impact of the Sassoons' opium empire extended far beyond their commercial success to influence international relations, Chinese society, and British imperial policy in ways that shaped Asian history throughout the 19th century. Chinese opium addiction rates increased dramatically during this period, while the silver drain to pay for opium purchases created monetary problems that weakened the Chinese economy and government. International competition in opium trading included other British merchant houses, American traders, and Chinese commercial networks that competed for market share while attempting to develop their own competitive advantages. The Sassoons' success in dominating this competition reflected superior organization, financial resources, and political relationships that enabled them to outperform rivals consistently. Technology innovations that supported opium operations included improved shipping designs, communication systems, and preservation techniques that reduced spoilage and improved product quality. The family's willingness to invest in technological improvements provided competitive advantages while demonstrating their commitment to long-term market leadership rather than short-term profit maximization. By 1860, the Sassoon opium empire had generated wealth that established the family among the richest merchants in the world, while creating commercial and political relationships that would influence Asian trade for decades. However, their dependence on this controversial trade would also create vulnerabilities and moral challenges that would eventually force diversification into other commercial activities as political and social attitudes toward opium began changing during the late 19th century. Shanghai dominance. The Sassoon family's expansion into Shanghai during the 1850s represented a strategic masterstroke that positioned them at the center of China's emerging modern economy while establishing foundations for commercial dominance that would persist for nearly a century. Their early recognition of Shanghai's potential as Asia's premier trading center enabled them to acquire prime real estate, establish crucial business relationships, and build infrastructure that would generate enormous wealth as the city grew into one of the world's major commercial centers. Shanghai's transformation from a modest fishing village into Asia's leading international port created unprecedented opportunities for merchants with the vision and resources to invest in long-term development while navigating the complex political and cultural challenges of operating in Chinese territory under international jurisdiction. The Treaty of Nanking in 1842 had opened Shanghai to foreign trade, while establishing the international settlement that provided legal protections and commercial privileges for foreign merchants. The international settlement that governed foreign commercial activities in Shanghai operated under British legal frameworks while maintaining Chinese sovereignty, creating a unique business environment that combined the advantages of European commercial law with access to vast Chinese markets. This hybrid arrangement required sophisticated understanding of both legal systems while providing opportunities for merchants who could operate effectively across cultural and political boundaries. Real estate investments that the Sassoons made in Shanghai during the 1850s and 1860s included prime waterfront properties along the Huangpu River, commercial buildings in the international settlement, and residential developments that would appreciate enormously as the city grew and prospered. Their early recognition of Shanghai's development potential enabled them to acquire strategic properties at modest prices that would later become extremely valuable. The Sassoon Building, constructed in 1929 as the family's Shanghai headquarters, represented the culmination of decades of investment and development that had established them as one of the city's most prominent commercial families. This iconic Art Deco skyscraper dominated Shanghai's skyline, while housing offices, retail spaces, and luxury apartments that generated substantial rental income while serving as symbols of Sassoon wealth and influence. Banking operations that the family established in Shanghai included relationships with international banks, Chinese financial institutions, and their own banking services that could support complex commercial transactions while providing financial services to other merchants and manufacturers operating in Chinese markets. These banking activities generated substantial profits while supporting their other business operations throughout Asia. Import-export businesses that the Sassoons developed in Shanghai extended far beyond opium to include cotton textiles, machinery, consumer goods, and luxury products that connected Chinese markets to global supply chains, while providing Chinese products to international customers. This diversification strategy reduced dependence on opium while establishing sustainable long-term revenue sources. The textile manufacturing operations that the family established in Shanghai included modern factories producing cotton goods for Chinese and export markets, while demonstrating the potential for industrial development in Chinese territory under international management. These manufacturing investments provided integration with their cotton trading operations while generating employment for Chinese workers and additional profits for the family. Luxury retail operations that the Sassoons developed included high-end department stores, jewelry shops, and specialty retailers that served Shanghai's growing wealthy Chinese population and international community. These retail businesses provided direct access to consumer markets while establishing brand recognition and customer relationships that supported other commercial activities. political relationships that the family cultivated in Shanghai included connections with Chinese officials, international settlement administrators, and diplomatic representatives from various countries who could influence commercial policies and resolve business disputes. These political relationships provided protection for their investments, while enabling access to business opportunities that required government approval or cooperation. Cultural integration strategies that enabled effective operations in Chinese markets included learning Chinese languages, understanding local business customs, and developing relationships with Chinese partners who could provide cultural expertise and local market knowledge. The family's willingness to adapt to Chinese culture while maintaining their own traditions enabled them to operate effectively in environments where cultural sensitivity could determine business success. The logistics networks that the Sassoons established in Shanghai included warehousing facilities, transportation systems, and distribution networks that could handle diverse products while providing reliable service to customers throughout China and neighboring countries. These logistics capabilities provided competitive advantages while supporting rapid expansion into new markets and product lines. Competition management in Shanghai involved both cooperation and rivalry with other international merchants, Chinese trading houses, and emerging industrial enterprises that were competing for market share in China's rapidly growing economy. The Sassoons' success in this competitive environment reflected superior organization, financial resources, and cultural adaptability that enabled them to outperform rivals while building cooperative relationships when beneficial. Employment practices that the family implemented in Shanghai included hiring skilled Chinese managers, providing training programs, and offering advancement opportunities that attracted talented personnel while building organizational capabilities necessary for managing complex commercial operations. These human resource strategies provided competitive advantages while demonstrating respect for Chinese capabilities and potential. Social responsibility initiatives that the Sassoons undertook in Shanghai included charitable contributions, educational institution support, and infrastructure development projects that enhanced their reputation while contributing to the city's development and prosperity. These community investments generated goodwill while providing business benefits through improved infrastructure and educated workforce development. By 1900, the Sassoons had established themselves as one of Shanghai's most prominent and successful commercial families, while building business operations that would continue generating wealth and influence throughout the first half of the 20th century. Their success in Shanghai demonstrated their ability to adapt to changing market conditions while maintaining competitive advantages through superior organization, financial resources, and strategic vision that enabled long-term success in rapidly evolving commercial environments. Global network. The international expansion of Sassoon commercial operations during the late 19th century created a global business network that operated across 4 continents while coordinating complex transactions involving dozens of products, multiple currencies, and diverse regulatory environments. By 1900, the family controlled trading operations in over 20 countries, maintained offices in major commercial centers from London to Hong Kong, and employed more than 50,000 workers in businesses ranging from textile manufacturing to international banking. The organizational structure that enabled management of this vast commercial empire relied on family members occupying key executive positions while trusted associates managed regional operation according to standardized procedures and regular communication protocols. Eldest son Abdullah Sassoon oversaw Indian operations from Bombay, while brother Elias managed Middle Eastern trade from Baghdad, and cousin David managed European operations from London, creating a global leadership network bound by family loyalty and shared business objectives. Communication systems that coordinated activities across the Sassoon Empire included private telegraph networks, regular courier services, and standardized reporting procedures that provided central management with current information about market conditions, operational performance, and emerging opportunities throughout their global network. This communication infrastructure enabled rapid decision-making while maintaining operational control across vast distances and diverse time zones. Financial coordination that supported global operations involved sophisticated banking arrangements, currency hedging strategies, and credit facilities that could manage enormous cash flows while minimizing exposure to foreign exchange fluctuations and credit risks. The family established relationships with major banks in every significant commercial center while maintaining their own financial services that could support both internal operations and external customers. Product diversification strategies that reduced dependence on opium trading included expansion into cotton textiles, silk production, tea cultivation, spice trading, precious metals, real estate development, and financial services that provided multiple revenue streams while positioning the family to capitalize on emerging opportunities in various industries and geographic markets. This diversification strategy proved essential for long-term survival as opium markets eventually declined. The cotton trading operations that became central to Sassoon business included relationships with American cotton producers, British textile manufacturers, Indian processing facilities, and Asian consumer markets that created integrated supply chains spanning multiple continents. Cotton provided more stable and socially acceptable profits than opium, while building on the family's existing expertise in international trade and market analysis. Tea cultivation and trading ventures that the Sassoons developed included plantations in India and Ceylon, processing facilities in Asia, and distribution networks throughout Europe and America that captured profits from the growing global demand for tea products. These agricultural investments provided long-term revenue sources while supporting economic development in regions where they operated. Silk production operations included Chinese silk farms, Indian processing facilities, and European marketing networks that served luxury markets throughout Europe and America, while providing employment for thousands of workers in Asia. Silk trading required sophisticated understanding of fashion trends, seasonal patterns, and consumer preferences that demonstrated the family's adaptability to diverse market requirements. Real estate development projects that the Sassoons undertook included commercial properties in major cities, residential developments, industrial facilities, and infrastructure projects that generated rental income while supporting economic development in regions where they operated. These real estate investments provided stable long-term returns while creating additional business opportunities for their other commercial activities. Banking and financial services that the family offered included trade financing, foreign exchange services, investment management, and commercial banking that served other merchants and businesses operating in Asian markets. These financial services generated substantial profits while providing valuable intelligence about market conditions and business opportunities that could benefit their trading operations. International partnerships that supported global expansion included joint ventures with established merchants, licensing agreements with manufacturers, and cooperative arrangements with transportation companies that could provide access to new markets while sharing risks and resources. These partnerships enabled more rapid expansion while providing local expertise and relationships that would have been difficult to develop independently. The regulatory management required for operating in multiple jurisdictions involved maintaining relationships with government officials, understanding local laws and customs, and ensuring compliance with diverse legal requirements while optimizing tax obligations and minimizing regulatory constraints. This regulatory expertise became significant competitive advantages in environments where legal compliance could determine business success or failure. Technology adoption that enhanced operational efficiency included steamship transportation, telegraph communication, mechanical processing equipment, and advanced accounting systems that reduced costs while improving service quality and operational reliability. The family's willingness to invest in new technologies provided competitive advantages while demonstrating their commitment to operational excellence and continuous improvement. Quality control systems that maintained product standards across diverse operations included standardized procedures, regular inspections, and performance measurement systems that ensured consistent quality while identifying opportunities for improvement. These quality management practices enhanced brand reputation while enabling premium pricing for products that met superior quality standards. Risk management practices that protected the global network included geographic diversification, political relationship maintenance, insurance arrangements, and financial hedging strategies that could minimize losses from political instability, natural disasters, or economic disruptions. These risk mitigation efforts proved essential for maintaining profitability in businesses characterized by numerous uncertainties and potential threats. Market intelligence gathering through correspondence networks, traveling agents, and commercial partnerships provided the family with information about prices, demand patterns, and competitive conditions across global markets. This intelligence capability enabled better timing of purchases and sales, while identifying opportunities for new products and markets that competitors might overlook. By 1910, the Sassoon Global Network had evolved into one of the world's largest and most sophisticated private commercial enterprises, generating annual revenues exceeding those of many national governments, while providing employment and economic development opportunities throughout Asia, Europe, and America. Their success in building and managing this global empire demonstrated exceptional business acumen while establishing models for international business development that would influence commercial practices for decades to come. Political power. The political influence that the Sassoon family accumulated throughout the British Empire during the late 19th and early 20th centuries represented a remarkable transformation from refugee merchants to unofficial advisors on Asian commercial policy, with family members serving in Parliament, advising colonial governors, and influencing international trade regulations that affected millions of people across multiple continents. Their wealth and commercial expertise provided them with access to British political elite, while their Asian experience made them valuable consultants for imperial policy development. Parliamentary representation that established the family's position within British political circles began with David Sassoon's election to the Bombay Legislative Council in 1862, followed by his son Arthur Sassoon's election to Parliament from Hythe in 1899 as the first Jewish member representing that constituency. These political positions provided platforms for advocating commercial policies that supported their business interests while demonstrating their integration into British society and their commitment to imperial development. Colonial administration relationships that the Sassoons cultivated included advisory positions with governors general, commercial policy consultations, and infrastructure development partnership that influenced British imperial policy throughout Asia, while providing the family with advance information about regulatory changes and development opportunities. Their expertise in Asian markets made them indispensable advisors for colonial administrators who needed reliable intelligence about local conditions and commercial opportunities. The East India Company connections that had supported the family's early business development evolved into relationships with the British Indian government that succeeded company administration, providing them with continued access to policymakers while enabling them to influence regulations affecting trade, taxation, and commercial development throughout British India and adjacent territories. Diplomatic activities that family members undertook included unofficial representation of British commercial interests in negotiations with Chinese authorities, consultation on treaty arrangements affecting trade relationships, and mediation of commercial disputes between British merchants and Asian partners. These diplomatic roles enhanced their political influence while providing valuable experience in international relations that supported their global business operations. Policy influence on imperial trade regulations included advocacy for reduced trade barriers, standardized commercial procedures, and infrastructure development that would support increased commerce while benefiting their specific business interests. The family's recommendations often became official policy through their relationships with colonial administrators and parliamentary representatives who valued their expertise and practical experience. The intelligence networks that the Sassoons maintained throughout Asia provided British authorities with valuable information about political conditions, economic developments, and security threats that influenced imperial policy decisions while enhancing the family's reputation as reliable allies of British interests. This intelligence capability made them valuable partners for both commercial and political objectives. Banking relationships with the British government included financing of infrastructure projects, foreign exchange services, and trade credit facilities that supported imperial objectives while generating profits for their financial operations. These banking relationships provided additional political influence while demonstrating their importance for achieving British economic objectives in Asia. Social integration within British aristocratic circles included marriage relationships, club memberships, country estate ownership, and charitable activities that established the family's position within British high society while providing informal access to political decision-makers and commercial opportunities. Several family members received knighthoods and other honors that recognized their contributions to imperial development. International conference participation included representation at trade negotiations, commercial treaty discussions, and economic development planning sessions that influenced international policies affecting Asian trade, while providing the family with opportunities to advocate for their business interests within official diplomatic channels. The House of Lords membership that some family members achieved provided platforms for influencing legislation affecting international trade, colonial development, and commercial regulation, while establishing their permanent place within British political establishment. These hereditary positions ensured continued political influence across multiple generations, while demonstrating their successful integration into British society. Military support that the family provided during various imperial conflicts included financial contributions, logistics support, and intelligence services that demonstrated their loyalty to British interests while strengthening their political relationships. Their contributions during the Opium Wars, Indian Rebellion, and other conflicts enhanced their reputation as reliable allies of imperial policy. Educational institution support that enhanced their political influence included funding for universities, libraries, and research institutions that created goodwill among intellectual and political elite while supporting educational development that could benefit their commercial operations through improved human capital and technological advancement. Cultural patronage activities that demonstrated their commitment to British society included art collection, museum support, and sponsorship of cultural events that enhanced their social standing, while providing opportunities for informal political networking and relationship building with influential individuals across various sectors of British society. The legal expertise that family members developed through their political activities included understanding of international law, commercial regulations, and governmental procedures that enabled more effective advocacy for their business interests, while providing valuable services to other merchants and commercial organizations operating in similar environments. Regulatory reform advocacy that the Sassoons pursued included promoting standardized commercial law, improved infrastructure development, and reduced bureaucratic constraints that would benefit international trade while supporting their specific business operations. Their political influence enabled successful advocacy for many reforms that enhanced commercial efficiency throughout the British Empire. By 1920, the Sassoon family had established themselves among the most politically influential commercial families in the British Empire, with family members holding positions that enabled them to influence policies affecting millions of people while protecting and advancing their commercial interests across multiple continents. Their political success demonstrated that commercial achievement could provide pathways to political influence that transcended traditional social boundaries while creating lasting institutional relationships that supported continued business success. Empire's twilight. The decline of the Sassoon commercial empire during the first half of the 20th century reflected the intersection of changing global political conditions, evolving social attitudes toward their traditional businesses, and internal family dynamics that gradually weakened their unity and business focus, while new competitors emerged with advantages that the traditional Sassoon model could not match. The rise of nationalism in Asia, regulation of international trade, and changing consumer preferences created challenges that ultimately proved insurmountable despite the family's wealth and political connections. World War I's impact on global trade patterns severely disrupted the international commercial networks that had supported Sassoon prosperity for over 80 years, while creating new political realities that favored different types of business organizations and commercial relationships. The war accelerated development of national industries that competed with imports, while government control over international trade reduced opportunities for private merchants to profit from arbitrage and intermediation that had been central to Sassoon's success. Chinese nationalism that emerged during the early 20th century created increasingly hostile environments for foreign merchants, while Chinese government efforts to control opium importation, regulate international trade, reduced the profitability of traditional Sassoon businesses. The May 4th movement of 1919 and subsequent anti-foreign sentiment made it increasingly difficult for international merchants to operate effectively in Chinese markets that had been central to family wealth. Anti-opium movements that gained momentum throughout Asia and internationally created moral and political pressure that made continued involvement in opium trading increasingly difficult and socially unacceptable, while governments implemented regulations that reduced the profitability and increased the risks associated with opium commerce. The family's gradual withdrawal from opium trading eliminated their most profitable business, while creating challenges for replacing those revenues with alternative activities. The Great Depression's impact on international trade severely reduced demand for many products that the Sassoons traded, while credit constraints limited their ability to finance large-scale commercial operations. The global economic contraction that began in 1929 created deflationary pressures that reduced profit margins while increasing business risks that made their traditional trading activities less profitable and more dangerous. Generational transitions within the family created leadership challenges as descendants of the original refugee merchants became increasingly integrated into British aristocratic society while losing interest in hands-on commercial management that had characterized earlier generations. Younger family members often preferred lives of leisure and cultural activity over the demanding work required for maintaining competitive commercial operations in challenging international markets. Japanese expansion in Asia during the 1930s disrupted established commercial relationships while creating new political and military risks that made traditional trading operations increasingly difficult and dangerous. The Japanese occupation of Shanghai and other major commercial centers eliminated many of the legal protections and business relationships that had supported Sassoon operations while creating security risks that threatened both personnel and assets. World War II's devastating impact on Asian commerce eliminated many traditional markets while government controls over international trade reduced opportunities for private commercial operations. The Japanese occupation of Hong Kong, Shanghai, and other major commercial centers in 1941 effectively ended most Sassoon business operations in Asia, while creating enormous financial losses through asset confiscation and business disruption. Technological changes that transformed international commerce during this period included improved communications, transportation, and financial systems that enabled new types of business organizations to compete more effectively while reducing the advantages that traditional merchant houses had previously enjoyed. Large corporations with specialized expertise and substantial capital resources increasingly dominated international trade in ways that made traditional merchant operations obsolete. Regulatory changes that affected international commerce included increased government control over trade, standardized commercial procedures, and international agreements that reduced opportunities for arbitrage and intermediation while increasing compliance costs and regulatory risks. These changes favored large corporate organizations over family-controlled merchant houses that had traditionally operated with greater flexibility and fewer constraints. The competitive environment that emerged during this period included large multinational corporations, government-sponsored trading organizations, and integrated industrial enterprises that possessed advantages in capital access, technical expertise, and political relationships that traditional merchant houses could not match. These new competitors gradually captured market share while offering services and capabilities that exceeded what traditional merchants could provide. Financial markets' evolution during this period included development of more sophisticated banking systems, securities markets, and financial instruments that provided alternative sources of capital and investment opportunities, while reducing the importance of traditional merchant banking and trade financing that had been important sources of Sassoon profits. Cultural and social changes that affected the family included increased integration into British society, intermarriage with non-Jewish families, and adoption of lifestyle patterns that emphasized social activities over commercial pursuits. These cultural changes gradually reduced family unity and business focus, while creating different priorities and interests that diverted attention from commercial operations. Estate management challenges that emerged during this period included inheritance issues, tax obligations, and asset diversification requirements that consumed increasing amounts of family attention and financial resources, while reducing focus on active commercial operations. The complexity of managing inherited wealth across multiple generations created organizational and financial pressures that were different from those involved in building commercial enterprises. Political developments that affected the family included Indian independence, Chinese communist victory, and decolonization throughout Asia that eliminated many of the political relationships and legal protections that had supported their commercial operations. The end of the British Empire removed many of the advantages that had enabled their success, while creating new risks and uncertainties that made traditional business models obsolete. By 1950, the Sassoon commercial empire had largely disappeared as an active business enterprise, though family members retained substantial wealth through real estate investments, securities holdings, and other passive investments that provided comfortable incomes without requiring active commercial management. Their transformation from active merchants to passive investors reflected broader changes in global commerce, while demonstrating both the possibilities and limitations of merchant capitalism in the modern world. When we examine the complete arc of the Sassoon dynasty's remarkable journey from Baghdad refugees to masters of Asian commerce, we discover a story that encompasses far more than simple business success. It represents a complex intersection of cultural adaptation, technological innovation, political influence, and moral compromise that shaped modern Asia, while demonstrating both the extraordinary possibilities and serious limitations of merchant capitalism during the age of European imperial expansion. The permanent transformation of Asian commercial development that resulted from Sassoon innovations extended far beyond their personal wealth accumulation to include the infrastructure, financial systems, and business practices that became foundational elements of modern Asian capitalism. Their contributions to banking, transportation, urban development, and international trade established precedents and relationships that influenced regional economic development for generations after their commercial empire had disappeared. Modern assessment of the Sassoon legacy must acknowledge both their remarkable entrepreneurial achievements and the moral complexity of businesses that generated enormous wealth through activity that caused significant human suffering. The opium trade that provided the foundation for their fortune contributed to widespread addiction, social disruption, and economic dependence that had lasting negative effects on Chinese society, while demonstrating the potential for private commercial interests to conflict with broader social welfare. The business innovations that the Sassoons pioneered in international